And, you know, this guy ends up getting whacked and turns out he's like laundering money for the cartels and he's playing both sides.
For decades, Mexico has been ravaged by violence from deadly drug cartels. 90,000 people missing and hundreds of thousands murdered.
So I was celled up with him. He'd been down since like 89.
They're like your pothead friends that are fucking hilarious, right? And then they start to talk a little more and they tell us a story about how they caught one of these federal police trying to raid a house where they were guarding El Mayo, and they fucking shoved a broomstick up his ass and tossed him into a river.
Episode 78.
Yep. Let's go.
Johnny Mitchell, not the connect.
Hi, Mom. Mom's listening.
Is she?
No, I'm good. No. I don't think she knows she hasn't even seen my channel. She doesn't. She
gave up on you a while back.
Yeah, she didn't give up. If I say I'm doing well, she's just like, oh, that's great, sweetie. You know?
Yeah.
Need to know basis.
Yeah.
That's it.
She's like, oh, 500,000 subscribers. That's
fucking insane.
Did you pay your rent? Like, that's all she gives a fuck about.
Like, we're about to.
All parents care about are just like how you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they don't, if you're
How's your
chasing
health?
success to try to like, win the love of your parents, it'll never work. It'll never work.
Damn, ain't that the truth, bro?
Yeah.
Ain't
That
that,
is-
the fucking truth?
You
Yeah.
fucking realize that at like 30 years
give 'em
old.
a
Yeah,
30,
that's what it
yeah.
is. That's what it is. About 30 when you
They
start
don't get
seeing
it.
your parents as like people again.
Yep.
Like you just like you accept, and you might even learn to like them,
Mhm.
like some parts of them.
Straight up.
Start to realize they're just like you. Like, oh, I got flaws. They got flaws. Okay.
Joe Rogan said this amazing thing. He said, I look at everybody now as like just children. We're all just children that grew up, you know, that are trying to evolve into what we're supposed to be. And by the time you figure it out, you're basically dead.
By the time you're good at it, if you do get good at it, like, holy shit, you know, that's the part of life is like, will you be successful ever? That's the question
Right.
most people have. And then
Right.
it's like, will you maybe heal from all the bullshit?
Yeah.
To
And
not be like tainted.
Yeah. And it takes the first 25 years is just sort of figuring it out. The first 25 years is just like leaving the nest and finding some direction. And then you spend 10 years trying to, make it in your career. And then you're 35, 40, and half of it's gone or more. It's wild.
And if you haven't, you start to lose a lot of that hope because you're like, fuck, like at this age, like every year counts more and more and more. And we'll get into it a little bit in your
Sure,
story. That's kind of
sure.
what you said is like, you look at time a lot different.
Oh, yeah.
You value it a lot
Oh,
different
yeah.
and that you recommend almost that experience, which is funny,
Yeah.
but it's,
Yeah. Yeah. I came out of the gate like I was a horse, and they keep them behind the gates before like the Kentucky Derby. And you just kept me trapped. And it was just like this energy, this inertia that was just building and building and building and building. It was like a slingshot. And you hold it back until it almost breaks. And then, that's the energy I came out with, just like flying 1,000 miles an hour, which is probably not healthy, but it certainly gave me like this direction that's, I think led to like some success that I have.
it gave
you
you
know.
a serious edge. Sounds
Yeah,
like.
yeah, definitely. Most definitely. I don't think people should lose their freedom. People should people should just have to do some shit that they don't really want to do, like right out of high school or maybe college.
Like boot camp. Like
Yes,
military boot
exactly.
camp.
Or you have to go like what they do in Israel. You have to go serve in the military. That's not good because they're over killing Palestinians. But
You get
maybe
brainwashed and shit.
exactly. But maybe you have to go do some community
week.
service for a couple of years, right? Like you got to go, read to some kids in Mississippi or stitch some soccer balls in Vietnam. Some kind of, Read to the children that are stitching the soccer balls in Vietnam.
Some version,
Yeah.
People wouldn't last a day.
But you have to, like, that it would almost be like mandatory if you want to like go to college for free. Like, you have to do some shit. You have to give something to society that you don't want to do, and then I don't know, it gives you like discipline and also focus, and then the drive to go like really not fuck around and waste time. You know,
It's what they say in business, being of service, right? When you're solely being of service to something, like what can I do here? I'm here to help. It kind of like humbles you and puts you in a position.
Johnny knows how to be of service.
Oh,
And
shit.
for anybody that doesn't know, this is Johnny Mitchell. He's not the Connect with Not the Connect podcast.
no, it's the Connect. Sorry, I should have
The
cleared that up.
Connect.
Yeah,
It's
the
the
Connect. The
Connect.
handle was just taken on Instagram.
So this is not the no, this is the Connect. But the Connect, and you're also a comedian doing your stand-up thing. We saw the fight.
Oh, thank
Saw
you.
that
I
shit
just
break
did that
out.
venue last
You're
night.
a big dude too walking in. I didn't think you were that big, but
Yeah.
walking in, I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah,
So
thanks.
that plays a role too in prison, do you think, or what?
Yeah, definitely. I think the crime, it was a good crime, right? I had good paperwork. I was somewhat of like a high level drug dealer, so they kind of respected that. And then I had a cellmate who was a shot caller for one of the cars. We call them cars. One of the gang sets in the prison I was at. That helped too. He was like, "Don't fuck with this kid." So
Fucking A.
yeah. So I lucked out. I think about that guy still almost every day. I talk about him on my show.
He's still down?
He was a lifer. He had 500 years. Yeah, I saw his paperwork. Yeah. So I used to do a joke about that. I'm like, that would be like if Columbus got sentenced to prison for his crimes. He'd just be getting out of prison like right now. That's like,
fucking
that's the thing
insane.
about how much time that's crazy. That's like, what a uncivilized society, you know? But so I was celled up with him. He had been down since like 89. And after I got shipped out of prison, I got classed down to minimum. He ended up killing a guy on the yard, and they sent him to death row. And I think he's beating the case. I think it was self-defense. But yeah, no, he's never coming home.
Fucking crazy.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
old were you when you
I first got locked up when I was 24. Yeah.
so pretty young.
Yeah, I was pretty young.
What was it like? Like, I know you're from Oregon, correct?
Yeah, from Portland.
Coming from there, and it's like the boom happened right there, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much right near.
Yeah,
you
yeah. It
know?
was Southern Oregon, Northern California. That was where all the outdoor growing was happening. You know, from I'd say like really since the 70s, like the hippies from Northern California in the late 60s left San Francisco. You know, they did like the back to earth movement. They started these communes in the forests in the middle of fucking nowhere, Mendocino and Humboldt. And they obviously paid for it by growing bud. But I would say I'd say the industry really took off and became like this kind of like $1 billion thing, probably like in the 90s and early 2000s. And it just kept growing from there. So
making $1,000 a pound, easy.
that was the profit. Yeah. That was minimum. So, and so a guy like me, I didn't really have a crew. I had a couple of guys working for me, but you move 30 of those a week. You know, you're doing almost $1 million a year just as an
That's
individual.
pretty crazy to think
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
Because like fast forward to now, and fuck, it's way different. You talk about that too, how like you were in the last phases of what you would consider it to be possible
Yeah, for
like
sure.
weed trafficking.
I
marijuana
really
tra-
think it was a special time. I'm really actually happy that I went through all of it, and it gives me chills thinking about it. I was really the last generation to be involved in marijuana prohibition in the history of the United States. There'll never be another time like that. Because now, you have to, now it's just, look where we're at. It's just like it's an industry. It's a cool industry. There's probably a lot of money in it, but you have to put a lot of money into it, and you have to brand.
It's more of a real business now.
Yeah, for
whereas
sure.
before is like you come in indie, you're making $1 million a year. Like,
Yeah.
How quick could you have just started till you built up to that? Like,
No, yeah, you don't just come in like that.
no, I'm saying like, how long did it take though? A year or
it
two?
took,
Like,
no, dude. It took
Long.
like 5, 6, 7 years. I mean, I was selling drugs since I was 17 years old.
got it.
So it was like I put in time. I put like, it was just like crawling up little by little, just kind of how my ascension in show business has been. Like, it's the same way. Like, there was never any silver spoon, kind of situation. I literally just nickel and diming, copping ounces in high school from, the black guys, right? And fucking up so many packs, getting robbing people, cowboy shit. And, just little by little, you finally break. You finally get your big break. And that was just meeting the Connect. That was meeting the cartel guys who had it for the super low. And that's really what you needed. You needed that special plug because that wholesale price allowed you to take all the clientele,
Yeah.
So that's why it was such a, like, we paid $5,000 just to get an intro to one of these guys. Like, here's 5 stacks. Let me just meet this guy. Like, that's how, and that was like low.
Yeah, that's it seems like a low price, even just to.
For sure. Yeah. Well, the guy was getting ready to go do a bid, so he needed whatever kind of money he could get. The guy who introduced us, he needed some money on his books. But yeah, like, so that was the arbitrage. That was what most people didn't have was capital and access to wholesale product. So we finally got that,
And like you said, it's a special time where the margins are just crazy. And you could fuck up and like come back and still be good because you were able to, like, like you said, once you meet the plug or whatever, it's like, the opportunity's there. You got way more to work with. What's it like at that point? Like, what was like the build up and the heyday like, and how did that lead to you being like, I'm going to go try to go even bigger? Yeah.
Well, I met, we had this plug. And then after you have the product, then you have to have the buyers, right? And that's a whole other thing. So, we took trips just through like happenstance. I met a couple of guys that were connected to like the mafia in Philadelphia. So, I flew over there and we got to know each other and we went out partying and shit. And they took us out and it was very much it was a very tenuous relationship at the beginning. Nobody really trusted each other, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to send you guys a couple of units. And if you're able to get me the money back, we can do business. If not, that's just a little loss that I took. But no, they were hungry. Like, and these guys ended up, they made me, I can't even tell you how much money these guys made me. So I would do that with a few people. I would fly out to Boston, to Manhattan, right? I met these Dominicans, various places, Ohio. We had product moving to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So, you finding buyers is a little bit easier once you have a price that can't be beat. And back then, everybody that was moving, all these drug gangs and shit on the East Coast and the Midwest, they were dying for a Cali Connect a West Coast Connect because that was just the best product at the best price. So it really took off when I made connections over there, and then I got hooked up with the cartel, with the Sinaloans who were doing these massive outdoor grows in Northern California.
This whole time as you're meeting people and you start to hear these guys are from the mob or these guys work with this, does it come across as like, I need to be more careful than normal, or just like, let's see what I can do? Like, what's your, going into that? Are you just like, well, let's see what happens?
Yeah, for sure. Well, no, if you hear that somebody's connected to the mob, like, that's okay. These guys are serious guys. Mm-hmm. That's what I liked. I liked if you were serious, it meant you were thorough. Like, I didn't care what kind of criminal you were if I could tell that you were thorough. So, I did like the college students. Mm-hmm. I love shipping weed to like college towns. The problem is those white boys, they're going to get caught and then, go to work for the cops. They're going to immediately finger you. Right?
Too much to lose.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, they think, right? Yeah.
Whereas the other groups, they'll pass the Connect off.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's how you get I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. So, I like dealing with criminals because, I didn't want to deal with
in it.
What's that?
They're brought up in it, most likely.
They're brought up in it, and also, they just, this is what they're gonna do. They don't plan on like making a bunch of money and then going to law school, right? Mm-hmm. Like, so it's just them cooperating with the government is it's just less likely they're going to do that. I mean, they end up doing it anyways, but you know, I took a calculated risk too. I'm like, so I'm moving weed, like, you know, even if I do get jammed up, it's not going to be like getting caught with like bricks of coke. You know what I mean? So it was to answer your question, it was a little calculated too, right? Like, you know, cause I had the line on wholesale coke from these Mexican cartels too. So I could have gone that route, but I was just like, there's too much money in weed. Like there's just no point, you know?
Smart.
So that was a very rare time when a guy could make more money wholesaling weed than he could, you know, selling a drug like cocaine.
And the time difference is like 10 years versus 100 for like a plane full or, you know, big difference.
Yeah.
So as you're building up and things are going good, you're moving around all these different places and stuff, like, you know, what ends up happening?
Just made a lot of money. What were some of the things you would go do to, like, you know, enjoy yourself? I mean, God, I didn't really do, I would just, somebody asked me that the other day. I mean, I really just ate. That's all I can remember from that time. I just ate.
Did you travel
food.
or anything?
Yeah,
or?
Of course. No, I was in Colombia all the time. I was hooked up with some guys down there. I made a couple of moves down there. I was in New York City every other week. I mean, I'm like a 22, 23-year-old kid walking around Midtown Manhattan with $40,000 in cash on me. I mean, it was like a superpower. I couldn't believe it. Like, if it really felt like hitting the lottery. I was like, wow, this is like the whole experience just felt like an adrenaline rush. It was like a constant adrenaline rush, you know, mixed with like paranoia, which is also adrenaline.
It's crazy, and you feel like you get hooked to it, huh?
Yeah. So by the time I got
your
caught,
body literally is physically
absolutely.
hooked to it.
So by the time I got caught and arrested, that first sleep in jail was just it was the most incredible sleep I've ever had, because it was just relief. It was like,
you're like, this is it.
Your body coming down, boom, crashing, and just it was like I hadn't slept in 2 years.
How about the moment though when you're like you're in the act of getting caught? Like, is it fucking peaking or what?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's like a blackout almost.
You feel like you're gonna pass out.
Yeah, it's like a not pass out. It's like I describe it more like blacking out. Your adrenaline's like, you know, moving so fast.
Shit starts just like you're seeing spots or
something.
something.
And that's why, like, nobody should ever, if anybody ever gets caught doing anything illegal, they should never try to like talk their way out of it, because you're not, unless you've been through it a bunch, right? Like real.
Then you're chilling though.
Career
like
criminals, that's their happy place. That's like that's their safe space. Yeah. Like a murder interrogation. Whoa,
you guys again.
I call this a Monday. You know,
they're on first name basis already.
Yeah, exactly. But for the majority of people, it's like your adrenaline is flowing so hard that you can't think clearly. You're just your instincts just kick in. So, you know, the cops are trained to, like, you know, catch you, you know, make you tumble over your words, try to get you to confess. So the best idea is just to shut down. I basically just shut down. I tried to bribe these cops who arrested me. That didn't work. And I go, oops, just kidding. And then I literally would just like shut down. I'm like, you're going to have to take me in. I'll call my lawyer. I'll take my chances, you know?
I like that.
But I could feel that, because I'm like, oh yeah, the exhaustion and the adrenaline, like I'm not right. And you're so scared. You're like, I'm not in my right mind. Like I can't function right now. So I'm going to end up doing something stupid if I keep trying to like talk my way out of it, you know?
It's crazy.
What led to the bust?
Dude, stupid shit. It was not even like, it was just like an accident, you know, which is funny. Like, I bet that happens most of the time. It wasn't some big investigation. They really didn't know what I was doing, I don't think. I think it was just a package of money that they had intercepted in one of those FedEx like sorting facilities, because I used to send product through FedEx and UPS, and it was, you know, they have drug sniffing dogs that go through there, and they probably just hit on this package of money, and I think it was like 40 grand. So that's enough. 40 grand in cash is enough for them to get a warrant. So they put a tracking device in there, and they followed it all the way to where I was receiving it in Oregon.
Ooh. And it hit you there?
Yeah, exactly.
When you received it?
Yeah, exactly. So, that's I think there's a couple other elements to it, but I can't, I thought somebody close to me might have been, who was also a drug dealer at the time, might have been also working for the cops, but I can't confirm it.
Mm-hmm.
So I won't speak to it. But yeah, that's really what led them to me. Is just something like, because you do it so many times, all you have to do fuck up is once for them to take you down.
Yeah, you got to get lucky every time.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's the problem with crime.
Odds become stacked.
Yeah, you got to get away with it after
Quick.
doing it.
That beginning
and thousands of
period
times.
is like, I feel like, is anyone's like heyday to where like the odds are great in the beginning, but then as time compounds, consistency forms, patterns form.
Yeah, it's like cheating. It's like cheating on your girlfriend,
Exactly.
Anything. It's like anything.
For years.
Isn't it funny? It's like any dirt kind of is that, and takes, you can't get around the human psychology of what a person does.
Yeah.
And you end up running yourself in a fucking circle, and that's crazy. Like, it wasn't even like, it
wasn't some big investigation. It wasn't some big.
So what happens then though? That's only money, like,
Yeah, it was. God, at the end of the day, they ended up finding like almost $1 million in cash, though. So they originally charged me with a federal
because they
crime.
hit the place, the house.
Yeah, exactly. So they got a warrant,
and there was more money there.
Exactly, but I had just moved all my product out. Like there was no product there. Thank God, right? So I knew I had some action on my case, but there was enough evidence to where it was like at very least they were going to charge me with tax evasion and money laundering. They thought I was tied into like the cartels. Mm-hmm. They were convinced of it. So they were kept, weeks went by. I was locked up in the county jail. They would send people from the DEA, from the U.S. Attorney's office down. And they were like, "Are you ready to let's dance?" And, I was talking to my lawyer and shit like that. And he was just like, hang tight, just sitting here, because if they're asking you questions, that means they don't really have anything on you. Like they don't know that much, right? It's when they come and arrest you and don't say anything. That's when you know you're fucked. When they say, "Mr. Mitchell, come with us." That's when you know they have everything. They don't need you to confess or anything like that. They didn't have any of that. So I just thought that was really funny. My lawyer was like, if they're asking you questions, it means they don't know anything. So this guy looks like Will Sasso. Has anybody told?
They have.
You've gotten Will Sasso a lot. I keep looking over. Who the fuck's Will Sasso? Producer Will Sasso.
We gotta pull up Will
TV,
Sasso.
dude.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm sorry.
I got a thing out my face,
dude.
I couldn't keep going.
He keeps looking at me. That's fucking awesome.
Producer, crop it in.
Oh, Mad TV. Holy shit.
Yeah.
The good days, huh?
Yeah, jeez, he hasn't been relevant for a long time. Damn, sorry, Will.
I thought you were gonna say Will Ferrell for a second. I was like,
Yeah. No, I said Will, and I was like, it's not Ferrell. What's his last name? Thank God I remembered it.
People have said that in the comments. It's crazy on YouTube, and I'm like, oh, who the fuck? Yeah, I had to look it up.
Oh, that's so fucking funny. So what was I saying? So
they hit that mill, and they're like, oh.
Yeah, so
you're sitting there holding tight.
Yeah, I'm holding tight. They're basically just like taking their time, trying to figure out if they can tie me into like a greater drug conspiracy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And they weren't able to, because I wasn't working for a cartel. That was just one of my sources. And and so eventually they passed on it. The feds just like, because it was already 2010, it's already, the laws are already changing. Mm-hmm. I have a really good lawyer, and the feds, they want numbers and they want headlines. And, a white boy selling pot, they think they don't really have any product. They don't want to risk losing. Mm-hmm. So what they did was we made a deal. The feds were like, how about this? We'll take all your money. We'll drop it. We'll just drop the case. And probably what's going to happen is we're going to pass this back to the state, and you're going to get charged at the state level. So I said, okay, let's do it. Like I'm not getting my money back anyways. So I forfeited all the money to the DEA, which is so funny because after they seize your money, they send you a letter saying, we're taking all your money. If you would like to appeal it, please write us in to the DEA. Like, imagine that. I rob you and I say, send me a letter to me, like appeal to me, and maybe we'll consider giving you your money back. It's like a joke.
You got to frame that letter.
Dude.
Bro, they do that in the airports all day long, every day.
Yeah, what's that?
They do that in every airport all day long, every day.
Seize things?
All
Cash.
day long. They
Right.
give you a piece of paper. Here
Cash.
you go.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, they call it civil.
They don't even charge
civil
you at this
forfeiture,
point.
right?
They don't even
Civil
charge you at this
forfeiture law.
point, unless
That
it's
shit
something
is
like
insane,
a
dude.
significant amount of money.
Right. They can do that even if they pull people over. I think Vice News did a piece about that like years ago. They could just pull you over.
Anything
and if it's
over
cash,
10,000.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's the most crazy fucking obscene law that the
Dude,
war
so
on
that's
drugs
crazy.
has
You
ever.
literally went down for money.
Yeah.
Would you say it was harder getting the money back or harder getting the stuff there?
Gosh, it probably. I mean, I guess the stuff because it's bulkier, but the money is just as well. The money's the most important part, and they come after that just as voraciously now. Like that's a strategy with drug interdiction. It's like we're gonna locate drug money. So I'd say it's one and the same. Yeah, I'd say it's no different. And I think those guys were fucking up a little bit in the way they packaged the money. They weren't, being as delicate with it but I'm just like, how can you think that like your dope is more important than my money? That's crazy. So I would have to like fly out there and like scream at these guys because I'm like, this money, when I receive it in Oregon, it smells like you've been literally smoking a blunt and blowing the smoke all over the $100 bills. Like this can't hold up. So I think it was probably something like that happened.
A lot of people keep their weed in the safe with the money.
Yeah.
And they literally lock the safe with the money and weed in it. And now the weed smells just like money. Or the money smells like weed. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah.
So you end up getting charged by the state?
Yeah.
What they hit you with? Just tax it?
No, they hit me with money laundering, all kinds of money laundering, bribery for when I tried to pay the cops off.
Did that cost you more time or no?
They eventually dropped it. They just, how it is with prosecution. They stack it like 100 things. Like
so maybe that's worth it.
You look at your paperwork and you just want to pass out. You're like, I need 4 sheets just to fit all my charges.
That's fucking crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's kind of worth the
How long were you
charge,
sitting in jail for?
I was sitting in jail for 8 months. That's hard time, Bubbas. 8 months in the county jail.
I did fucking 4. That's just
that's a long time,
sucks.
man. I mean, a week seems like a month.
You said it, and you said
a
month
seems like a year, dude. That's what we said, man. It was.
I was watching people cut lengthy deals just to get out of there.
Yeah,
they've been in there a year, 2 years.
Yeah, it's a torture
and he's
mechanism.
like, I just took 15 years. I got to get out of here, man. I'm gonna, it's like,
where was this?
Fuck. This is in Brevard County,
which is where
Florida.
Oh yeah. I can't imagine what those Florida county jails are like, dude.
A lot of good old boys.
Yeah.
A lot of good old boys like running the place, big hats.
Shit, there's everywhere. So you're sitting in there 8 months. Did you get out and then get sentenced or did you go straight or is that it? You did 8 months and that was it?
Yeah. You sign your plea deal and then, I signed a deal for 36 months and
for money laundering?
For money laundering and conspiracy. Yeah. To commit money laundering. Yeah. So
3 years.
I signed my deal. Yeah, I signed my deal, and then they just ship you out. Sometimes if you
feel like you got fucked on that?
No. I don't think so at all. Because I knew that. Well, at the time, I was like, well, I'm going to get good time, right? Mm-hmm. Assuming I didn't know what was ahead, what lay in store for me. But I was like, no. I mean, I felt like I fucked up in letting them find all this money in the first place. Like I wasn't thinking like I got a bad deal. No, I was like, I fucked up, and that's the more empowered way to think about it is like, I fucked up. And that's harder. And that applies to everything in life, a relationship that fell apart, a business deal that went bad. It's like putting it on yourself. There's nobody else to blame. Like the buck stops with me, but that's the boss way to think about things. And so that was the hardest part. I didn't feel like I got fucked on the deal though. No. Especially seeing what other people were getting. I was like, damn, like this is what a good lawyer gets you.
Weed wasn't like it is now either. So, and now they think
What
Yeah,
year
he
was
had to
this?
convince them.
2010.
Yeah.
2010.
Yeah.
That was early on. Things were still a little rough. There was only like Colorado was online. Oregon was like, it was just starting where like there was a lot of states couldn't wait for people to send something out or get something out of that state. Like I remember Kansas had a lawsuit against Colorado just based on too many people leaving
Yeah.
Colorado with weed.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Money's
Yeah.
what they want though. That's what
Yeah.
because they can take it and use it.
Well, it's surprising
Weed?
that they like
Yeah.
got all your money, you signed it over, and then they still hit you with, was that the minimum mandatory or like what? How does that play out when the money laundering? Did you learn a lot about it? Obviously.
Well, the state is what originally, the state authorities, local authorities are who originally arrested me. So the federal government supersedes the state, and so they can just come and be like, we're literally taking this case. So when they dropped it, the DA who was on it originally obviously wants it because he's like, this is, it's all politics. He wants stats, he wants numbers, he wants to make a big bust. He probably wants to become a judge later, or maybe a defense lawyer, right? A lot of prosecutors end up becoming the best defense lawyers. That was my lawyer, used to be a prosecutor. So yeah, I think that's kind of what it is. I mean, I know it seems weird, but the government can do whatever they want.
That's so fucked though. Like that's
years
just
of your
thinking about
life.
it.
They took years of your life away. Like
Thinking
years of
about
you
it, though.
working
and
towards.
it's all for a self goal
Yeah.
because you're just like, I want to be judge. So
tough, very tough.
you and you.
Yeah. Especially
It's
a lot
like
of those,
the emperor days, like the Roman emperor. Like if you really think about it though, like even like sports and all, like everything. It's like here's money. You're gonna do this.
yeah.
And it's just like
Yeah.
the same thing right here. It's like here's your stats. Here's it.
They should
Well,
give you,
I want
They
this.
should clap you on the back. They just took $1 million from you. They should be like, thank you.
I know.
Have a
And
good day.
they're going to
Let's
use
be
it.
like, go out there. We'll go get us another $1 million. Fucking idiot.
No,
You
that's
know?
literally what they probably used it just to buy more cool shit
Yeah.
to take the next $1 million off the next guy. Yeah.
100%. We got a brand new police cruiser.
And that barely
Yeah.
scratches the surface of it. Like if you think about like the,
Nah, it's just one
the
instance of
military
one-
or the prison industrial complex
Oh,
and the,
geez.
I've talked to guys on my podcast that, for instance, this dude, Big Herc, he was locked up in
I saw
Longpok.
some of that one.
Yeah. And he was saying, these big riot happened, like 30 people ended up getting stabbed. A few people got killed. So they locked the place down for like 90 days. And by the end of that 90 days, that means nobody's going to work. That means the factory that's there isn't producing any goods. And he was like, dude, they had to start letting people out because when the factory doesn't make money, they can't pay for all of their shit. And you're like, how the fuck is that possible? This is a federally run prison. My motherfucking tax dollars should be paying for this shit. Where's the money, cocksucker? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're bleeding its graft.
Slave labor.
All your tax money that's supposed to be funding these things. Think about it. The library,
A lot of them are
post
private.
office doesn't make
No.
a profit.
A lot of them are private.
It's run by my fucking tax dollars. But forget about the private prisons. It's that's like a whole separate thing.
Yeah.
The public prisons are as money making as private prisons. So you think about that. So you think about, okay, this place is making profits from the companies that they partner with, plus taking the tax dollars from the citizens to run the prison. So it's like, yeah, you think about that and you're like, damn, you get locked up for drugs, you're playing their game.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's why I say, I mean, really like the only way to get out, the only way to win in the drug game is by getting out,
Yeah.
is by quitting while you're ahead,
So you were in the county and then you get shipped off after sentencing. Take the deal and you go straight to
they roll you up. They come, after you sign, they send you back to the county. They ship you back. You go into court, you sign your paperwork, ship you back. That night, they wake you up. They say, roll up. And, you say goodbye to your bunkies and you have your last meal. You play your last game of spades and then they put you on the chain. Which, and by then you're so happy. You're so happy to be leaving county jail. You're like, oh, I can't wait for prison.
That is
I
wild.
cannot wait for prison.
That's wild.
And then you
It's
get
like
to prison
that.
and it's not that much better. You're like, this is fucked.
it's way more work or what?
In prison, it's
Yeah.
like no, it's just the learning the politics is so exhausting, and it's like being at a new school. You don't want to get moved around a lot. Like it's really bad. Like when they move you around a ton, they do it on purpose because they think you're like an organizer, or you're causing trouble, because then you hit a new yard, you don't know anybody, you don't know who's cool, who's a fucking killer, who to talk to, who to stay away from. So you just have to relearn all that. And so that's the hardest part about prison, is like learning, and there's no way to know except, unless you're already like plugged in, there's no way to know except by just trial and error. And an error might, cost you your life, or a beatdown, or whatever,
And do they put you with someone when you get there? Are you with, or you have your own cell?
Yeah, well, no. You have a cellie.
So even that, it's like, God, I hope I get someone that's not already mad.
For sure. Yeah. I talked. They first celled me up with this guy. He was like a sex offender, and I had no idea. I'm like, how do they let this slip through the cracks? Because they send sex offenders to like their own yard. They're completely segregated. They had just let this guy fall through. They let him one pass through. So they were like, you have to go handle this. And I was like, Jesus Christ. So I walked in and I made the guy show me his paperwork, and he was in there for like supplying drugs to a minor. So I'm like, oh, bro, don't make me like beat your ass. And he goes, don't worry. I'm going to go to protective custody right now. And so he did a good thing for me. This guy, he told the guard, hey, this guy's threatening me. I'm scared. I got to go to the hole.
Wow.
And he looks at me, this fucking skinny, goofy kid. He's like, this guy's threatening you? And I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to fuck him up. Oh yeah. Yeah, this guy's in danger. And so yeah, but I appreciate that he did that, because he knew, like, if I didn't, beat him to the point of death, like somebody else would have, and then they would have came and taken care of me, So then they moved me though. So then they still sent they sent me to isolation for like 10 days just because this guy said I was threatening him. Then they sent me back and celled me up with the guy, Jimmy, the guy doing life. And he was who I was with the rest of my time down.
It was pretty smooth from day one as far as with him, as far as just what's up, man?
Yeah. He was a good dude.
Yeah. That's crazy to say that, right?
So you were at the same spot the whole bid?
No. I eventually got out of the max I was in, and they classed me down to a minimum, which was like, they sent me to this prison on the coast of Oregon, and it was basically like a camp, like it had barbed wire around it, but they would send people out to work every day. You're playing basketball. Everybody there was short timing, and that was like the last like 5 months of my stretch. So that was cool. That was like, okay, you're out in nature. Everybody's relaxed. There's barely any fighting. So, yeah.
What was that first place like?
Yeah, I mean, the first play, the max how'd
you like your money laundering? How the hell do you get
wild?
To a max?
I was fighting in the county jail. Everything you do as soon as you go into the system follows you. Everything.
There's a number. Were you the same number in county as?
No.
Changes, right?
No, but your paperwork follows you from the county. So I was getting in fights basically from day one in the county. And so by the time I got to Coffee Creek, which is this prison where they sort you. So every time, and they do that in every state, when you get locked up, they send you to basically like a holding facility where they keep you until they decide which prison to send you to, right? So by the time I got there, I was already my security level. They looked at my paperwork and they were like, this guy's been in 5 fights. He's a troublemaker. He's out of control. So that put me in like the highest like security level. So that's how I ended up. But it's like, I had no choice. I had to fade. As soon as you hit the county, you have to fade, or you're going to be, you're going to have to go PC up. You're going to have to hang out with the creeps. So I was like, there's no way I'm doing that. There's no way I'm hanging out with these old pedophiles. You know what I mean? Like these 80-year-old men. Yeah, they got caught jacking off in the bushes outside of a school. Like, I'm not doing that. I'm going to fade. So it's like, and people would just, people would test you. Yeah, especially when you're in there that long. Like if you're only in there for a couple of weeks, you might have to just get in a fight your first night, and then you're cool. But like every month it'd be a new round of gangbangers that had to like earn their stripes, and they would pick me out. And I'm like, I wouldn't do that because we're going to like, there's going to be no beatdowns here. It's going to be stand-up fades.
Mhm.
So every time you would do that, you go to the hole and then you fucking, another strike on your paperwork.
So damn, because you probably could have went straight to a camp. If not,
Probably, or at least like a medium
low.
security. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And like you said at the end, you're hanging out, you're playing sports, got a job and shit.
Yeah, they would send us out every now and then to like, clean up parks and whatever, work in the woods.
But you get off the property.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is huge.
There was still people like trying to escape. There would still be guys.
Really?
I'm like, how fucking retarded are you? You're getting out of here in 6 months. Yeah, she's cheating on you. She's gonna be cheating on you then when you get out. Because guys would find out like their old ladies left them, or they would, guys go crazy in there over like their chicks.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy, somehow he thought his girlfriend was cheating on him because she wasn't picking up the phone. And yeah, he went out to work one day and just didn't come back.
You think he pulled up on her? You'll find out today.
I don't
Where
know.
is she at?
I don't know. But he was only gone. He was only gone for a couple of days when they found him.
Oh, they got his ass.
Yeah,
Right.
And then just give him another 2 years.
Yeah. What do you miss the most while you're in there? Is there one thing that you're like, God, if I just had good food, or God, if women were around? It's just one thing that's always on your mind. If I just
probably being alone.
That's what it is. Silence. My God, dude. That's totally true, man. It's all day, every day. It's just like a cacophony of noise. It's like being in an airport. It's just over the loudspeaker.
Nuisance.
Yeah, the fucking toilets going off, screaming, fighting, alarms. Yeah, that was the thing.
Yo, what up? It's Blackleaf. I'm here at Grow Generation, and guess what? Drip Hydro's storming the market. All the best growers I know are switching to it, and guess what? There's a reason, because it's preserving terps. I keep hearing that, preserving terps, and that's why we're here with Sunshine, facility advisor, facility manager, overall the man with Drip Hydro. Listen to why it's different, man.
What's going on, guys? Sonny here with Drip Hydro. Thing is, at the end of the day, we just wanted to make a simple, clean, cost-effective nutrient line that nobody has really seen on the market right now. Nobody uses really our chelation formulas. The micronutrients that we have pulled to make this line is really just what makes it overall, bringing that consistency and quality back to what we want to see in growing herb again. And overall, at the end of the day, it's still really light on your wallet. It's a 5-part nutrient line. And again, if you're not staying sterile, or you have a big facility and you don't want to run rock wool and you want to run a mix of cocoa with an enzyme or something, you don't even have to run flow with it. So at the end of the day, it's just saving you money on your wallet while bringing the consistency and the quality of terps back. We wanted to bring the terps back and bring the soul back to growing.
Versatility, cost effective, and quality. I mean, what else can you ask for? Drip Hydro, first smoke of the day, Blackleaf approved. Peace.
So we got a special offer for you guys. Whether you go in person or you order online, any Grow Generation, over 60 nationwide retailers. The code is FIRSTSMOKE10, and you're gonna get 10% off, an additional 10% off your already discounted price. Use the code FIRSTSMOKE10. Tell them the First Smoke family sent you. They're gonna take care of you.
Support the show, hop on the Patreon. We got new shows dropping, we got Off the Mic. We have so much stuff in store for you guys, and stuff dropping every single week. Hop on the Patreon, first smoke of the day.
New shows, checking in with Pat Godds and Blackleaf. We're doing a live each month and a lot of other shit
Off
we
the
haven't
mic.
told you guys yet. Make sure you get on the Patreon. We'll see you guys soon. Peace.
Yeah, I remember the first day I got out and I just got back to my parents' house. I just closed the door to my old room and just sat there. It was like I couldn't handle it. I was so like wired that it was like an out of body experience to just have total silence. Yeah, it was wild. That's how like humans aren't even meant to be living in big cities like LA or New York. Because I realized, because I lived in New York, I was like, oh, this is like prison. It's just a constant 24-hour noise infusion, like artificial noise, and being around so many people that you don't know. It's like we're meant to be in like groups of like 150. Like that's biologically, we're just we're meant to be in like small tribes.
I agree.
We haven't even evolved past that, they said.
Social media now is fucking ripped that apart. Like communities and, but bro, sides, I mean, it's just crazy that, you got a good run and then boom, you get hit with the money. You're doing your time and shit.
Yeah.
You going in and getting with the shot caller. I mean, like, if for anybody that maybe has some shit coming up or had, whatever, right? What's some advice? Like, what are the survival strategies of like, yo, I'm going to get through this. This is how, what?
Oh, damn. You got a lot of people out on bail listening to the show.
We get a lot of people moving weed. And the industry.
Well, no, just a lot of hustlers, a lot of growers, a lot of people still in the game all
Risking
over
it.
globally. You know
I
what I
think
mean?
people that are selling weed, I mean, I can't imagine anybody's going away for a very long time. They're going to have to go through what I had to go through anymore. I mean, but I would just say like,
what if they hit them with money? The money.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, I would say first of all, like you should be preparing for all of that. And you should preparing for the day when it comes to an end, because
pretty much here
it's going to happen. I think about that in show business, like with this show pop, and I'm like, okay, but what's going to come next? Because it's as hard as the faster you hit, the faster it's going to bring you back down to earth. So,
or the harder it is to keep it.
Yeah, for sure.
Climbing higher, right?
Yeah. So, but I would say like if you're getting ready to go to prison, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, it's I don't know what you're going to prison for. You might deserve it. A lot of these motherfuckers really deserve to be in there. That's the thing. When you get to prison, it's like
you're a piece of shit.
Yeah, it's
you fucked up.
You talk to anybody who's been locked up, and they'll tell you they're like, like I had a boy, he locked up, criminal, like armed robber, black dude from the ghetto, just had no chance. And he was like, oh yeah, no. If it were up to me, 10% of America would be locked up. It's so funny, but people like petition. They're like, let people out of jail. But no, you haven't been to jail. I mean,
we'd be fucked, huh?
What's that?
I said a lot of us would be fucked.
Yeah, right. So, but definitely like for drug crimes, that's like over incarceration. But anyways, whatever. That's a whole political discussion. If you're getting ready to go do some time, I would say, make the best of it, right? Like really use that time. What would you say is
the most important thing though?
Like
who you like hang with, or like what's like?
Oh yeah, bro, stay out of it. Stay the fuck out of it.
How do you stay neutral and shit? How do you just kind of
just like by having like a backbone, like being like, I don't bang, I don't use drugs, I don't get into foolishness. Now, I did all of that stuff. So, but I was also kind of forced to, and I won't give a lot of it away. You can go listen to my show, The Connect, but I also like had to put in some work for Jimmy because he was protecting me, but that was a pretty unique situation. I think for the most part, especially if you're short timing, just stay out of the bullshit. Like I made the most of my time because I like really focused my mind and thought about, okay, like this is not my home. I'm just here passing through. And this is what I'm going to do when I get out. And I really focused my energy and my attention, and I learned meditation, and I started doing stand-up comedy in there, and I was like writing screenplays and all this shit. So it really, and when people see that, they usually leave you alone, especially if you're like intelligent and you're articulate. Most people that are cool actually admire that. They're like, yes, we want you to get out of here. We want you to go home. And so some people don't like it, but as long as you're not involved in gangbanging or drugs, the odds of you getting touched are pretty slim. So I would say if you just give respect and respect yourself and carry yourself with, keep your head up. Never keep your head down. Always keep your head up. I think that's just what human beings feel. They'll feed off that energy and you'll be okay, But that's the main thing is like, what am I going to do different when I get out of here? Because something's going to have to change.
Along this path and story, because I see you down there in like Mexico and stuff with your show.
Yeah.
Where does it like intervene into that? And like, what was the thought of like, I'm going to go check it out. I'm going to go, see what's
What do
going
you
on.
mean? What do you mean?
Like just with the cartel and stuff. Like,
Oh, how did this show evolve? Yeah.
did you ever go down there?
No, I never went to Mexico while I was in the game. No, I never went to Mexico.
But you know a ton about how things work. Like even that village you were talking about, like on your show, where it's like, you know, saying basically like how much they launder just in a day.
Well, the city of Culiacan. Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Like
that's to wrap your head around that. It's like, you know, that just to know that it's just like you're in tune. Like you definitely.
Yeah. I'll let the viewers know. So there's this city called Culiacan. It's the capital of Sinaloa state. And that's where the Sinaloa cartel is. That's the headquarters is Culiacan. And, you know, Chapo was born just like in the mountains outside of the city. And it's I call it the Silicon Valley of drug trafficking. Like it is what Medellin, Colombia was to cocaine in the 80s. And except they're way more powerful now than Medellin ever was. And so it was interesting to me. I'm like, okay, this is so funny that like I used to buy weed from these Sinaloans from this city who migrated north and set up these big grows. And they don't really do that as much anymore, like hardly at all, actually. But I was like, let me go down here with this show, my new YouTube show, and like, let's make an episode here and let's see who we can talk to.
Which is fucking, it's ballsy.
Yeah, for sure. I was
what
uncomfortable.
You're doing is like,
I was uncomfortable.
I watch and I'm like, you know, they might want to talk to you.
Your show gets sent between so many people that are in the business.
You'll be surprised.
Like,
Really? You'll be surprised.
Yeah. Well, we put up this clip of this guy who was taking us around. He's like a trap rapper down there in Sinaloa. They call it Trapteño. And he's really dope, actually. Really good guy. And he brought us to this one tiny little section of the city. It's like 3 blocks long. And it's just one after the other, these small little money exchange places. So you can take dollar bills and go exchange it for pesos, or vice versa. You can take pesos, go exchange it for dollar bills. And he's like, yeah, this is how they launder. This is how they launder the money. And while we were there, we saw a kid hop off of like a street bike and bring up like a grocery bag full of money and drop it off to like some bored woman behind this little counter of a stand and just drop dollar bills, just exchanging it for pesos. And he said just in this one little section, they estimate that they launder $7 million a day in this one little section of a city. Yeah, so that's $1.5 billion a year, and that's just one little section of an entire city. So yeah, it's wild. It's wild.
Like a village too. You guys got to go check it out. Check out his show, The Connect.
Yeah, The Connect.
Got to.
Yeah.
So dope.
We were just up in the Tenderloin of San Francisco last weekend, going around, you know, interviewing like fentanyl addicts and you know, people like social services that work with the fentanyl addicts and shit, because
actual fentanyl, like they're hooked on the fentanyl.
And we interviewed a guy like smoking meth and shit. It was and you know, these drug dealers and shit like on the corner, you know, some shit that's like another world, right? And I guess it's kind of like Skid Row here, but anyways, it's a great look at, because that shit comes from Sinaloa. So we were just in Mexico, you know, interviewing guys that own fentanyl kitchens in apartments throughout that city. And you're like, 3,000 miles later, here it is on the streets of the richest city in America, San Francisco, California. And it's like, you know, just turns thousands of people just
zombies.
Yeah, into zombies. Yeah, it was really interesting. So that's kind of the shit that we're trying to, you know, I don't really know where the show's going, to be honest. We're just going to these interesting places that we think we can get access to, like, you know, these cool interviews.
When you finish a day like that, interviewing people like that, you got to decompress a little bit, or how do you know, does that burden your?
Yeah, it's pretty wild, but I don't know. I'm always in work mode, so I'm just thinking, do we have the shot? I'm thinking, did we get all the footage? So I'm thinking
mission based.
It's a very selfish thing, like whatever Vice News, whatever, you know, that guy with you know, soft white underbelly, Mark Laisha, he films, you know, a bunch of homeless people around here. It's all very self-serving. It's all, yes, it's interesting, but we are exploiting these people for views. It is what the fuck it is. So,
what do you think about Chapo's sons getting into medical marijuana? They're trying to do their own
that's what we did an episode about that on the Connect down there. Yeah, so we were in these grow houses down there, and you can see us. We're like passing around like an Uzi, like in the. Yeah, we realized YouTube won't let us put that up. So go to the Patreon, patreon.com/TheConnectShow. But it's wild. No, the bud's really good. I mean, may I look at this?
Yeah, go
absolutely.
for it.
I'm trying to compare like
They got people in LA,
What type of
so they
strains?
know like there's definitely LA market guys.
Bro, they got people all over the
wait, what do you
globe.
mean? The cartel?
Yeah, to where they know like, okay, we need to get the right lights in the right setting.
Yeah,
Here's
yeah,
what
yeah.
the grows look like.
Yeah.
Now we need to take it down there. And
Right.
they got warehouses.
Yeah, they don't have bud like this down here yet,
Yeah.
but they have what I would call like really good outdoor. You know, they have weed that
what
looks
type of weed do they say?
fuck, I don't know.
Like
They
a name?
brand it all. You know, I don't know that kind of
They're
shit.
Yeah.
mixing and matching.
Yeah, I don't know, but they have like, you know, they sell in dispensaries. It's all branded. It looks like they all over Culiacan. They have these dispensaries that look like you're in LA.
Wow.
It's yeah, they got the gummies and the pre-rolls and the edibles, and it's very consumer friendly. Ordinary people are going up in there.
How was it during your stay down there? Where you know, I know you're like focused on getting shit done, but
Yeah.
like how was it? You know, just
Yeah,
were
it
you
was-
sketched out or were you chilling?
No, I mean, like, I didn't think that we were in real danger of like being killed because this cartel is so strong in Culiacan that like there's not really going to be no gang war. It's a very safe
crime
city.
there.
There's really
Isn't
no
that
crime.
funny how
there.
that works?
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, you know, there's
You'll
no
get
homeless
killed.
people. They'll kill you for selling fentanyl.
Wow.
Yeah,
If
they
you're
were
in there
like,
doing a crime, you're
they're like,
dead.
fentanyl is only for export. If you're caught selling it, it's instant death. So the cartel has their own rules. They are pretty much the law down there. And, you know, it's complicated, but that's more or less they own the city. So I knew there was a good chance we were making it out of there. No guarantees.
What do you think about going back a few times? Like,
Fuck no.
Okay.
no going back
No
at all?
going back there.
Okay.
No.
Once?
No.
Not even
No, I don't
once?
think so. I won't go back to Sinaloa, but I go back to like nice Mexico. But no, it's not. Oh, I don't know. I walked away with a bad taste in my mouth, I guess, seeing kind of how the cartel is. I walked away not liking the cartel, to be honest with you. Overall, I understand it. I think congratulations for like making this industry that employs a lot of people and a lot of, you know, they're building tons of real estate in Sinaloa and there's car dealerships everywhere. And it's like, I know that supports a lot of business, but at the end of the day, yes, they push poison on Americans. They don't give a shit. They're almost happy about it. They're proud about it. And furthermore, the worst part to me was like, I'm like, oh, this is, everybody has to kind of submit to the will of the cartel. I didn't like that. Like there were so many shots where they'd be like, you can't film this, you can't film this. Like they didn't even want us filming like in the city, like at these money laundering places. And I don't like that. I don't like being told what to do. So it's not good when the cartel is the government. The government's, but that's because but they exist because the Mexican government has just failed so miserably that the cartel has to step in and they run things better. But it's still a dictatorship. And the whole time I was down there, I was asking, you know, our guide and our translator, I'm like, what if I'm just a guy in Culiacan, Sinaloa? I'm a Mexican guy. I'm working for these cartels. I'm ambitious. I'm hungry. I'm really good at my job. I want to go form my own shit. Can I do that? And basically the answer is no. And I'm like, well, that's on some bullshit because that's not really drug dealing. It's monopolization. And I don't like that either. So yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't go back there and, you know, plus their fucking women are ugly. Sorry.
It ain't
Sorry.
Colombia?
Yeah, it ain't Colombia. It ain't
Col-
Colombia. We will be going back to Colombia. We're going there next month. But no
Damn.
offense to
Wow.
Mexican women,
Yeah,
Sinaloan
no.
women. You're lovely people. Mexicans are lovely people. But they kept bragging that they had the hottest women in Mexico, in Culiacan. And I saw not one. Yeah. So it's like, I love having pride in have your cartel, but you know what I mean? Like you can't have it all. You can't have everything. So it's but yeah. So I know I won't be going back to that area of Mexico, I don't think.
Yeah.
Because why test
man.
fate?
Exactly. Well,
yeah, that's how I feel. It's like if
exactly.
you went down there once, you probably left like, all right, cool, yeah, we're out. You
Yeah,
know,
we
like,
got
that's
it.
that.
We got it. And we're
You
not
know?
Vice. I don't want to interview some guys in the mountains with fucking, you know, these little
Yeah.
sicarios. Because I know how it is. Everybody's on drugs. You know, everybody's sniffing coke to stay awake. it's just a very boring fucking existence. Sucks that people have to live that way, you know?
Yeah, it's wild.
It is
man.
pretty fucked up. You talk about if you
America's the best, bro. America's the best. You could fucking you make a bunch of money independently. Nobody's gonna kill you probably. If they do, you were fucking up. But there's nobody's gonna tell you that you can't sell. You can take money. You can roll it into legal businesses. Man, I'm bullish on America, dude.
Yeah.
So
bullish on America.
I'm bullish on America.
I love it.
You got a few clips where you're talking and an episode where you're talking about, I think, going down to Colombia and meeting someone of a cartel boss and shit like that.
Colombia is way better.
Was that pre your?
It was kind of in the middle of it. Like I would just get burnt out on I would get burnt out on my operations sometimes, and I would just take like extended vacations, and I would leave the business to my basically like call him the CEO or the president. I was the founder. I leave it to the president, and he would keep operations moving. Yeah, and I would go to Colombia just because that's where we wanted to launder a lot of money through, because it was starting to blow up back in 2008, 2009. It was starting to blow up as like this like tourist place, and everybody was forgetting about the bad old days, right, of Pablo Escobar and all that shit. So we went down there. I went down there, and I immediately fell into like all this foolishness. I was buying bricks of Coke for like $2,000, literally. Think about that. And just to make my money back from the trip, and I started like dishing that out to like tourists and shit like that, fucking silly
out
shit.
There.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was that like?
Yeah. But that was like easy because it's much more like, it's much freer down there. Like Colombians are like, it's just, we want to sell you the good Coke. You're tourists. We like tourist money, you can go. I told the guy, because the guy from the guy that I was buying weed from knew this Colombian in Medellin. And so he was like, you should look this guy up when you get there. And so I originally just went there to buy some weed.
Ain't that the truth?
And he had just kilos of weed, just pressed brick weed, not pretty good weed too, by the way. And I was like, how much for a brick of this? And he told me the peso amount, and I ran the numbers. It was like $50 American. And I was like, okay, well, just like give me 5 of them. Why not?
Yeah.
Like, I'll just throw it away. I don't even, whatever, dude. That means nothing to me. And he was like, Coca? And I was like, well, how cheap is that? Yeah, give me some of that shit too. And yeah, so I did the translation, and it was about, I think $2,200 for a brick was the going rate while I was down there. So I was like, yeah, just give me a kilo and let me see if I can get it off just to like white people. You know what I mean? Just to basically tourists and shit. And fucking, turn it around like that. Just gave it to a bunch of the fucking Australians. They could sniff up a key in like 2 days. These animals. And so the fucking Europeans are the worst. They're the biggest degenerates.
And they pay triple.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
They were like $20 for a gram. I pay $400 in Australia. Yeah. Yeah. Like that's how I would buy a gram for like $2 and sell it for 20 and just, got it off like that. But I was basically, I went there to find property to buy. That's really what I was there for.
You were looking into a hotel. I remember.
Yeah. So I was trying to buy that was like the first investment. And then the idea was like, I was going to buy like one in every city, because I saw all these like different tourists and shit coming to like Cali and Medellin and Cartagena and all these little places in between. And I was like, I can cater this to tourists. Like I know how to like market, and we'll do these stupid gimmicks. Maybe we'll sell drugs through the hotels, right? I had a buddy that did that. And it's nothing, and you just pay the cops off every week. Nothing dramatic, right?
Yeah,
like that was a good. I think I really was onto something there. I regret not being able to get into that, to be honest with you. So that's kind of why. So I would bounce back and forth from Colombia during this time.
Do women? So now the money and the drugs are coming into play, and now you're down there enough time. Do the women start to come into play as well?
Well, I've always been kind of tall and handsome, so I'm just kidding. Tall, certainly, but no, I never cared about like pussy or anything like that. I was always very like, I really was not. I was very Northwest and white boy about the way I spent money and behaved. Even when I was like rich, I didn't I didn't really get down like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I was almost like embarrassed by like the power of money in a weird way. I still am. I'm still embarrassed by like any kind of success I get. You know, it's like the Irish in me, right? Like I never really feel like, I don't feel like I'm worthy. Like I just want to be like normal. So yeah, but you know, whatever. Women, there's always women.
Yeah.
Who cares about women?
No, I just asked that because I'm like, next thing you know, you're looking around like, man, I might have to marry one of these.
Yeah, well, for sure.
You
And
know,
that's what
like,
people go down there for. And that's, you know, people do that all now. It's like, that's what everybody, you see so many gringos in Colombia now, just like marrying, you know, basically prostitutes.
I like what you said though. You're like, every woman now, I think is what you said, has an Instagram. It was, someone was explaining like, it was, you know what it was? It was Tate. And he was like, I went to like Lithuania. He's like in the middle of nowhere, right? He's like to some little city that you name. He's like, and the girl had 400,000 followers. He's like, the days of like going down to Colombia or going down to South America and being like, oh, she's not Americanized. We're going to bring, he's like, that shit's way over.
Yeah.
He's like, the Instagram ruined everything around the world.
Talking about Andy Tate?
Yeah. 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 I listen to him sometimes just talk about.
Yeah, he's funny. I like him.
Yeah, right?
I like him. Yeah, that is true. That is true. Yeah. Yeah, you can't find like the hottest girl in any city anymore just by being American.
No.
Like they really, yeah, it's totally, everything's so globalized and international.
Yeah.
And but it really is like ruined Colombia, in my opinion, in many ways. I was down there a couple of years ago, and we're going back next month. But yeah, like the money and the you know, the open prostitution and the drugs have caused such an influx of tourists that I feel like Medellin is almost like the Cabo of South America now. It's just like you see these disgusting fucking people from Holland. What do you call those Dutch people just stumbling down the street like, well, puta?
Like red light district stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It's just kind of like gross. But now what's starting to happen is because things haven't gotten better for the people there, as you might imagine, the people who actually are from there. So they've started robbing these motherfuckers. Like if you're a dumbass tourist coming to Medellin to just like fuck everything that moves, there's these gangs of women now who will lure you on Tinder or meet you at a bar, and they'll either drug you with this shit called scopolamine. It's they call it the devil's breath, and it's just like you could just like put a little bit of dust in there, and you'll have you'll have full mobility, but you'll be blacked out.
This shit's scary.
Yeah, exactly. So my boy got robbed in a similar way. Totally deserved it though. And they they just vic these idiots that don't know where they're at, have no respect for where they're at, and that's just become a business for them. And why shouldn't it? You know?
They're like, they want to come down here and basically, take from us.
So I never acted like that. I never, certainly not in the business. It's like respect. Well, when I'm in Mexico and Sinaloa, when I'm in Colombia, I'm just you're just, as a gringo, you're just doling out money because that makes everything move. And it makes sure that you're like, you become indispensable because you're the golden goose. So they're like, don't touch this guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I never acted like that.
What's interesting with like Spanish families, especially traditional, is usually then they'll be like, come eat dinner with us. Did that happen a lot to you when you were like traveling or anything? Yeah,
for sure. You just end up bizarrely in the household of some guy who's like a rancher, and he owns this big finca. Fincas is what they call like a farm down there. And because my boy, it's a long fucking story, but I ended up with a couple of girls, and my buddy and I ended up with these girls, and we were in like this like hacienda of a house, beautiful, like out of the show Narcos, right?
Wow.
Just like gorgeous fucking Colombian stucco roofed property, and they've got an armed guard around the compound and shit, and I'm drinking like Johnny Walker Blue. Like that's a Colombian drinking that shit. That's like one gulp is like a month's salary for most people down there. Just shit like that. Bizarre. And you don't even know how you got there. And the next thing you know, you're fucking his daughter. And then he got killed. This particular guy, like she was telling us, he was like, yeah, my dad knows the president of Colombia. And he's friends with like the soccer coach of the national team. And he knows, and so everybody in the oligarchy knows each other. He knows the guy that, like created whatever, like the biggest like industrialist down there. He owns all the factories, right? And, you know, this guy ends up getting whacked, and turns out he's like laundering money for the cartels, and he's playing both sides, right? It's like, so yeah. So the line between like
you come on another trip, they're like, yeah, he's dead.
Yeah. No, it was literally like a month after we left, and he was, this guy was, but my point is like the line between like criminality, like drug dealing and like elitism go hand in hand down there. Whereas down here, you know, in the first world, it's a criminal business. It's first, you know what I mean? You're always in the shadows. Not to say there isn't high level criminality in other ways, right? That's involved with the U.S. government and elites. But yeah, down there it's wild. Like in Sinaloa, for example, the way they fund a lot of coke deals, we learned. You know, say I'm a guy from one of the families down there, and I want to import, let's say, like a ton, 2,000 bricks from Colombia. Well, I'm not going to use all my money, right? I'm going to go raise a fund. Like I might use $1 million of my money, but I'm going to go raise the other 4. And so I'll go to a guy that owns a big tomato export business, because that's what they do down there. It's a big tomato and onion export industry. I'll go to you and say, you don't want to know. That's how they speak down there. You don't want to know, but I got a really good investment. It's 20% return. I need $2 million cash. And you, this legit person, will do it. You might even go to a doctor, right? You'll go to, the head of the Chamber of Commerce. And so you rate, it's like a real estate deal, right? It's like investing in or investing in a stock or a company. And if the load makes it, you IPO and you get a good return. So how fucking wild is that?
You have fucking kids at home getting their parents to invest in their fucking operation
and take it to a new
thing.
thing.
You never talk about it. They never talk about it. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
They don't have to get their hands dirty. And it's like they go to these elite parties and they're fucking racist. You know, they look down on the browner people. It's usually the whiter people, right? These are the elites in Mexico and Colombia. And it's like, it's the poor brown kids that end up being the hitmen and, you know, getting killed and shit.
Damn.
Yeah.
It's crazy because you think it's just America, but it's like racism is across the world. It's tough to hear that. That's rough.
Yeah.
First day out of jail.
America's one of the least racist countries. Hate to say it. It's a fact. And it's not to say there's not a lot of racism, but man, you just travel. Go see some shit. You know, people that are
go to France
cheering AOC and, you know, still wearing a mask. Yes, go to France and see how the other side lives in France. And you come back to America and you're like, I'm almost in tears every time I come back to the States, dude. I'm telling you, that's what travel does. Even when I come back from Canada, I'm like, fuck, get me home. Get me within the walls. What were you saying?
First day out, and you said you basically went back to your parents' house. They cook you a home cooked meal, or do you guys
we stopped actually in Eugene, which is where I went to school, which is where I got basically started really selling drugs. Yeah, right? I was back in my old turf. And because it was like on the way home to Portland from this prison. And yeah, we stopped and we got like my favorite pizza. Yeah. And I just went home and just went to bed, you know, sat in silence and just, I just slept in.
Pretty much.
Yeah. My plan was to, because I had a little bit of money they didn't find. That's long gone now. But my plan was to like move to LA and like get into show business.
Yeah.
And I did that within like the first 6 months. You know, I never looked back.
How'd you know inside of you, like, you're a pretty funny guy, bro? Like, just to be honest, like, you have a natural comedy. How did you feel that? And you were like, all right, I'm going to get into comedy.
I actually, even though I was like doing stand up in prison, I thought I was going to be like an actor, or like, I wanted to be like an auteur. I wanted to like write my own movies and like star in them and shit. You know, I would look at like Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, what they did with Good Will Hunting. Yeah, which you go back and you watch it. What a piece of shit that movie is.
Yeah,
but it's okay. But like,
Robin Williams make you cry, bro.
Check out them apples. Like, what kind of dialogue is this? Nobody fucking talks that way. You'll be fucking sweeping my floors, dude. Shut the fuck up. Your accent's dumb. Suck my dick, New England. You want to be New York? It's not gonna fucking happen. No. But like, that's what I wanted. I was kind of like inspired by that, and then. But, you know, quickly I got to Hollywood and realized, oh, this is just another system. This is just another Matrix. And
you're
it's
on that Andrew Tate talk.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I bought a Bugatti. I bought a Bugatti,
If you
and I
want to escape
realized
the
Hollywood
Matrix.
is another Matrix. No, I realized that you gotta have 5 Bugattis. No, I realized that. Oh, I got in at the wrong time, right? It would have been like trying to smuggle weed in 2016. Like I'd missed it. Like I got here in 2012 and I realized, very quickly, like within a year of just like, going to acting classes and talking to producers, pitching scripts and all that shit, talking to agents. I'm like, this is the old way is almost dead. And by 2019, the internet had almost completely obliterated what used to be the business of television and film. So by 2013, 2014, I was like, I don't want to be doing this because there's not a lot of money in it and you just can't be free. You can't be free because when you write a script, when you want to be an actor or director, you have somebody telling you what to do constantly. There's so many people saying, no, we can't put this in, we can't put this in. And also by this time, this like politically correct shit was already encroaching, this PC movement. So I was like, where can I really just be free? And that was like stand-up comedy. I would go to these acting classes and I would just break the scenes. I would just and break off and just improv and I would kill. It reminded me of being in prison, doing these talent shows. And I was like, maybe I could do stand-up. Maybe that'll lead to something. And then I started doing stand-up and I never looked back. And I saw like what Rogan was doing with like podcasting. And I was like, there's also real money in it. So I can do something that I love. Like it truly like I'm actually, I think pretty good at. And like I can dedicate myself to for decades and make potentially a lot of money at it. So that's kind of that's what led me to that.
Man.
Fire.
Yeah.
And it's crazy that you got your start in fucking prison.
Yeah.
It's the hardest.
It's pretty
what do you think
wild.
about that crowd? Like easier or harder? Probably easier, right?
It's funny.
You fucks will laugh at anything.
Believe I fucking did that. Yeah, no. It was really, they were the best audiences if you brought it.
Wow.
They were the best audiences in prison if you fucking brought it. If you went up there being like self-deprecating or you weren't on, you didn't have your shit together, fights would break out. Like I remember this old man with a guitar went up there and tried to like do his like little like give his little tune, and he was like I think like he forgot his pick or he didn't take long enough to like get to the fucking harmony of it, but they like started throwing oranges at him. So I was like, and I had to follow that, and I was just like, oh fuck, dude.
You ran up there.
First of all, I immediately just started attacking. I would go into like attack mode. And I didn't even know these were bits at the time, but that kind of like, that still to this day kind of dictates how I write. Like I have to get to the punchline immediately. Like immediately I have to get to something. And that's just kind of, you see my performance. Like there's always, even if I'm telling a story, there's always like jokes peppered in. Like I don't really let any air in. And I've had to learn to like let go and like let it breathe a little bit. That's kind of been my evolution, but that comes from prison. It comes from like, because you just feel the restlessness after 5 seconds if you don't have something.
Straight up.
You would see these black guys be back there.
It's tough. Tension.
Man, you hear a lot of, a lot of that. So,
That tension builds quick, huh?
Yeah. I basically started out doing black shows. That's how the career started.
When
you know what I mean?
When you had the little fight breakout or whatever, what happened at your stand up?
Oh yeah, that was my first viral video. This has 13 million views now.
I saw
insane.
it. It came up on my YouTube and I'm like, oh shit.
Insane.
Yeah.
Heckler.
Yeah.
Fucking
So
heckler.
I don't know why I still do these shows, man. I'm just addicted, I'm just addicted to stand up still. I just can't, I don't say no to anything. That's the problem. I'm starting to finally say no to things. Which
You were about
means,
to say no today.
I was about to say no. I was about to say no, and I can't say no.
I had to bring it back to like, no, it actually wasn't
We were
totally
like,
my
oh,
fault.
please.
No, you did.
I thought I fucked up.
And
then
immediately I
was like,
saw
no.
that and I was like, well, I owe these guys. So I was just getting fucking heckled by two people at like a ghetto ass show that I shouldn't have been doing. These guys, I was joking. I'm like, did LA County just let everybody out and ship them immediately here? Like, what's going on?
Someone really did just get out.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
like,
it was like
that.
And so I So I was getting heckled by this one dude I was actually scared of, but I was handling it like a pro. I'm glad like I didn't break down and like fucking say the N-word or you know, start screaming at people. Like I was funny about it the whole time. Mm-hmm. So that's why I was proud of myself for that. But so this guy gets up and leaves. So I was like, whew. Now I have the bitch made motherfucker heckling, and this guy is going to be lunch. This guy ain't shit. And so he was just making himself look like a fucking fool. And I was just jujitsuing him, just laying him. That's what good crowd work does. It just lays the guy down. Like good crowd work off from like a drunken fool is the easiest thing because everybody hates that guy. Everybody's rooting for you. All you got to do is just kind of get out of the way. Jiu-jitsu, let him fall on his own weight. And he's making himself look so dumb, but I could tell he's like shaking his leg. And the stage is like from like me to, he's almost like from me to the producer. Like that's how close he is. And I was like, damn, I remember saying at one point, and I was, by the way, I had just taken an edible too. So I was like, what's going on? So I did not have my defenses on. You know what I mean? Yeah. So my reaction speed was slow, but I was like, it feels like I'm back in prison and a riot's about to break out. And he goes, I never even fucking been to prison, man. And I was like, well, that's because you snitched.
Yeah. I love that.
Oh, shit. And then later, my black friend was like, that's like calling him the N-word. That's just one step below. Calling a black guy a snitch in public, but clearly he snitched because that was his like trigger word. So he knocks this fucking drink over and he rushes the stage. And I was like, this motherfucker's not really about to do this. And he was like this like 5'8", he was like a tiny little guy. And he grabs me by the fucking, and that's what you see in the video. You see him like pulling me off stage, and I start grabbing him around the neck. And that's when the cameras go off. Thank God, because like I put him in a headlock and we just crashed. It was like an old school brawl. I just crashed him through the table. We broke a table.
Wow.
It was wild.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. And so I'm like putting him in a headlock. He's on top of me. And I pull his hoodie over his head and I try to like hockey punch him. And I had the crowd so much on my side that they ran over and started like stomping this dude. Wow. They started like kicking the shit out of him. Yeah. And, yeah. But so whatever. But they come in and they bounce him and they throw him out of the joint.
The whole time it's going on, you start to get fucked with by that.
Did you get back up there? Close it
out? No. I was like, that's the show.
Yeah.
That's the show.
I think that's fucking it for tonight.
Yeah, that's a mic drop.
That's it for tonight.
You can't follow that.
No. Yeah. You're like the table's gone, the drinks are gone, and the guy's gone. Mic drop. I'm out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Give us a breakdown because I like how you did it on your Patreon. What you got going on? It's like one's a hustler, a kingpin. What?
Oh yeah, it's just the pusher categories. $4.99. If you pay $9.99, it's the kingpin category. So we just kind of like,
and they get to. You got a little group that maybe comes to your shows or gets access.
Yeah. Oh, the Patreon. That's just because we show a bunch of shit. We film a bunch of shit that we can't show on YouTube. We're finding like it's a nightmare. I don't even want to talk about that. It's they don't want to give us a lot of love. So they'll straight up age restrict us if we show like pot or fucking guns or anything like that. So yeah, you can just see all that if you sign up for the premium, or else we'll just blank it out on the videos. Yeah, and we do a bunch of cool stuff over there. So if you're listening and you love the content, go check the show out first. Go subscribe, listen to some stuff. If you like it, we put out and we do a ton of bonus content. We do bonus episodes. We do behind the scenes footage. We do interviews with people. We interviewed Roger Reeves, who was Pablo Escobar's cocaine pilot.
Great interview.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I can't. Well, that's going to be behind the paywall. That's going to be. We'll release teasers of it, but that's pretty much going to go on Patreon. So if you like that,
he's a hell of a storyteller.
Yeah, he's great. It was 4 hours we did.
Fucking crazy.
So that's going to be in 2 parts. So that'll be on Patreon. Yeah, we interviewed a girl who was like a female pimp. So we're doing all these really like cool interviews, and that'll all be on Patreon. So yeah, if you want to go, it's a great way to support what we're doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because you get demonetized, I'm sure, hella times, right?
Yeah.
From YouTube. So it's like no matter you have 500,000 subs or 1 million subs, if you're demonetized, you make zero money off YouTube.
I know.
It's crazy.
I know. So we have to rely on sponsors and shit.
Talk about that accolade. 3 months.
Yeah.
500,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Fuck, dude.
Because that's super uncommon. Super rare.
Yeah, I guess
even
so.
for like super popular people that are already popping,
right?
They can't. You know what I mean? Like it's like almost like you you hack the algorithm. Like you literally like.
I have no idea. I think it's how it's shot. I think it's, the editing. I think
compelling shareability.
Yeah, I think it's for sure. Yes, people shared it a lot. It was those YouTube shorts. It was just a combination of all that. I think it was just kind of a niche too. I think it was, I saw these guys talking about these prison shows, but it was always like not very accessible to like common people, I think, who like want to know more about it. They want to know like details. Nobody gives details. They just say like
the day to day.
Yeah, nobody gives details about even Vice News. They're not really doing it. They're not really explaining how the cartels are. They want to like sensationalize it. They want to talk about, they're just telling you they're not, they don't know the questions to ask because they never lived it. And so the fact that I lived it, I think kind of gives me a little more credibility. So I think people appreciate that. So I think maybe that's how I just knew the questions to ask. I knew the details to talk about that, you can't know if you haven't lived it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think maybe that helped a little bit, perhaps,
Absolutely. For sure does.
You got to get lucky. You throw enough shit at the wall, something's going to hit. Something's going to stick.
What's the goal moving forward?
Yeah.
Goal moving forward is I just want to keep building. And then, we're going to drop a stand-up special that I'm trying to film inside of a prison for the inmates.
That's fucking dope, bro.
Yeah, so I'm hoping to drop that later in 2023. So yeah, I want to keep doing this. I want to perfect the travel, what I call travel episodes. So I want to really turn this almost into like an Anthony Bourdain of the drug culture. So the idea is to really kind of turn this into like a travel show, to like a vlog and a documentary on these different places. And then people who like comedy, shoehorn this into like a comedy podcast, like create something out of that from the stand up. Cause that's really what I am at the end of the day as a stand up comic. So, come out and see me when I'm in your town. I think that's the goal ultimately.
And you're based out of LA?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
cool.
Yep.
So people can get at you here.
Yeah. I'm performing tonight. I'll be at the Hollywood Improv. I know this doesn't come out tonight, but you can go to, I'm always at the Comedy Store and the Improv. You can go to follow me on Instagram at Mr. Johnny Mitchell. I'm always posting about my shows. Go to johnnymitchellcomedy.com to, get updates on when I'm going to be in your city. And go subscribe to The Connect on YouTube. The Connect with Johnny Mitchell. That'll pop right up.
We've been loving it, man.
Thanks, man.
It gets sent from all kinds of guys that I'm like, I bet
thanks,
this dude would love it.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. I do a lot of shows, and most of them suck, but you guys really got something good happening here.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah,
Thank
most
you, bro.
people are
Appreciate
bad
you.
at what they do. Don't forget that. Most people don't do what they do well. We've been seeing this with,
Or they didn't pick what was meant for them type shit. Like,
yeah, right.
they didn't pick what they were good at.
Yeah.
They pick what they suck at.
People don't want to come to grips with not being good at something that they like to do, right?
Ooh.
I loved playing basketball. That's like, I thought I was going to be in
You're
the
fucking
NBA.
tall, but
I'm
it's
tall
like
as
someone
shit.
like me. It's like,
Yeah,
it's thrown
right,
out.
Right. You wanted to be a mixed martial artist, right? And you had to accept that wasn't going to happen. So when you can find something that you like, but that you're also good at, that can turn into a passion, and you have meaning in that. You know what I mean? So motherfuckers don't want to accept that life is unfair and that things are unequal, right? Because if they could accept reality, they could then create a reality for themselves. So I had to accept that I couldn't be like this like corporate comedian. So once I accepted that, I was like, well, I'm going to go be this outlaw comic. And, like the Legion of Skanks or like Joe Rogan and Joey Diaz, right? Like these outlaw guys, like I really leaned into that. I leaned into the internet, and that changed everything, So I think that's like the best advice I can impart on people is like don't get caught up in what you love to do. Like assess in reality what you like to do and what you're really good at, and then find what you do really well and then lean into that, because you'll end up liking what you do really well. If you excel at something more than anybody else, you'll start to like that too. You know what I mean?
We've been loving The Connect, bro.
Thanks,
Anybody out there who hasn't seen it, you have to check it out. it's really about that life.
Dope ass show.
Yeah.
Funny ass dude, Johnny Mitchell.
Thank you so much, you guys.
Man.
Yeah,
It's
man.
been a fucking honor,
been our
pleasure.
pleasure.
It's a great time.
We'll have to collaborate in like Thailand or something.
Yeah.
Because it's booming
The
over
weed
there right
industry
now.
is
Oh, is it?
booming
It's going
in
crazy.
Thailand.
I'll have to go over.
We
to
have a
Thailand.
lot of good connections
I'll have
there.
to go over. I'll have to go
Smerge
over there.
roads.
Wow.
Let's meet in the streets.
Yeah.
And see what happens.
Yeah, you already look like a Muay Thai guy. You look like you have
He
a
is.
staff in your hand. Is he
Oh,
really?
he ain't
my
the
guy
guy to
right
fuck
here.
with on the street. This is Pac Gods.
Oh yeah, I see him right over here. Yeah, Pacquiao Jr. Pacquiao, if he took a different, hey, if Pacquiao, if he made some different decisions.
Oh, shit, dude. Holy shit, I never caught that
The
one.
Connect, not the Connect.
Come on, man. Johnny
Check
Mitchell.
on Instagram, but it's called The Connect.
Yep.
So yeah, The Connect with Johnny Mitchell.
Podcast with Johnny Mitchell.
Thanks, guys.
Episode
Thank you,
78.
bro.
Appreciate you
Oh,
guys.
yeah.
Peace.
Yo, welcome to the Diamond Mine, the diamondmine.la, California source for boutique genetics, powered by yours truly, Blackleaf. And you know what that means? That means I'm bringing my best genetics into this. I'm bringing stuff I've been hiding, harboring away, stuff I haven't wanted to let out. We're bringing all that into the diamondmine.la, and we're going to offer that to California. Go on our website, hit the newsletter, and see if you can rock with us. Get on board with some of our genetics and change your garden. The diamondmine.la, powered by Blackleaf.